It's a process. Just give me a second. Keshav, I will post the link as soon as it goes live on your YouTube. Okay, it's live in YouTube. I'm going to give it to you right now. Okay, Keshav, I in all the channels. Give you a couple of more minutes. Keshav, let me know when you are able to telecast that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start, you can start. Let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can start, right? Okay. So let's start with the Tamil Tarvat first, okay? Okay. Now we are going to hear from Narayana Kumar. He is going to give a welcome address. He is the executive member from Tamil Makkal Mandram. Narayana Kumar, you can please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். Let us begin with திருக்குறள். கர்மம் செய்ய ஒருவன் கைகூவேன் என்னும் பெருமையின் பீடு உடையது இல். It means there is nothing more glorious than to persist in the advance of the community. On behalf of Tamil Makkal Mandram, Indian Association of Greater Boston, Rhode Island Tamil Changam, it is our great honor to welcome you all for this immigration Q&A session with Attorney Ms. Prashanthi Reddy. Tamil Makkal Mandram is a non-profit organization serving Tamil community of Massachusetts and New Hampshire for more than 11 years. It intends to promote our Tamil culture and esteemed heritage. Tamil Makkal Mandram organizes multiple programs. Out of those, the prime events are Pongal Villa, which is a fun-filled cultural program to bring various talents of all ages. In summer, the Kodai Kondatam, which is a sports mela, and then the Diwali celebrations. Given this year being exclusive and we are unable to catch up in person, our board and EC members are working endlessly and enthusiastically to bring multiple online programs to our community along with other organizations. With all your support this year, TMM organized various other events such as Marappavai Kuthu to revitalize our ancient art, Naatupura Kalaiyal. Sirappu Pattimandram by Thiru Nanasambandam Ayya with the Bharati Tamil Changam, college planning, financial seminars, and recently Super Kudumbam, a musical event. Furthermore, our TMM youth members periodically conducts food and fund drives to help the needy people. Kudos to our youth volunteers. As we know, many employers and employees, as well as many businesses, individuals, and families undergoing the US immigration process, and it is complicated at times. TMM wants to help the community to connect with an immigration attorney who takes pride in the quality of their work they do and the services that they offer. TMM gives warm welcome to immigration attorney Ms. Prashanthi Reddy and thanks to her for accepting to do this session with us. Please Avail this opportunity to ask general, hypothetical, or specific questions, and our attorney would be happy to answer you. We would like to thank our media sponsor, Ishita Media, for helping to stream this session, and Tamarika TV for promoting and broadcasting our event. Finally, alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. Give hands to serve our community better. Nandri, thank you all.
Thank you. Wonderful address. I would Sanjay Gowda from IAGB. He is the president of IAGB. I would like to welcome and give his greetings to this group. Sanjay Gowda, it's your turn.
Thank you, Ramesh. Namaste to all. Hope everyone is doing well and safe. Welcome everyone to today's session on all about immigration. My name is Sanjay Gowda, the president of India Association of Greater Boston, known as IAGB. IAGB is the oldest organization in the New England area, started about 60 years ago. And IAGB strives to foster a strong Indian American social, cultural, and community presence in the New England area. And IAGB and TMM have been working together for quite some time. We at IAGB work with and partner with all the organizations on any issues that matter to all of us as Indian American community. So huge thanks to TMM and the leadership team for organizing this event and making IAGB a part of this. Immigration has been a cornerstone of this country. However, it is one of the most challenging and very confusing. And I hope this session will be more resourceful and informative to all of us. Huge thanks to the Prashanthi Reddy for helping us out and be part of this information session. Just one more thing. We all heard about the recent unfortunate event, the violence against the Asian American community, the immigrant community. The Asian American community is a diverse and a vibrant community that believes in love and acceptance. So let us unite for a stronger voice against violence, any violence against any community. Let us stand together, but against any discrimination, violence, and hate. So without taking much time, thank you so much for inviting me and making IAGB part of this. And, over to you, Ramesh.
Thanks, Sanjay Gowda, for your introduction. And it's it's very happy to see you here and participation in IAGB as well as in this program. I know IAGB is doing a lot of community events, even in this pandemic for last 1 year under your leadership. We are very thankful for that and being part of that as well. Thanks, Sanjay Gowda, for that. And next, let's move on to the Rhode Island. So Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Samandam, she is a board member of Rhode Island Tamil Sangam. I would like to invite her and come give us some greetings. Come on, Vijayalakshmi.
Hello everyone. Namaste. Good evening to everybody. I am, like he said, I'm a board member of Tamil Sangam. We are the youngest, smallest in New England. We just started 3 years ago. And I'm very pleased to be here today. Rhode Island Tamil Sangam is a small group of family and friends. I would like to express my thanks to Tamil Makkal Mandram for giving us this opportunity. On behalf of the RITS, I would like to welcome Attorney Prashanthi Reddy and all members for this immigration and question and answer session. As we all know, challenges around the recent visa processes. I welcome this meeting. I think the meeting will give us as a good platform to know the latest details and also any specific questions related to immigrations to be asked. Thank you all, and Nandri. Be everybody safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Samandam. Now we need to give introduction to Prashanthi Reddy. So I would like to invite Tamil Selvi, our executive board member of Tamil Makkal Mandram. Tamil Selvi, it's over to you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Vanakkam and good evening, everyone. I am Tamil Selvi, executive committee member of TMM. On this pleasant evening, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Attorney Prashanthi Reddy briefly. Ms. Prashanthi Reddy attended the University of Pennsylvania Law School, LLM. She has experience in the immigration field since 1997. She is admitted to bar in Newark and she is member of American Immigration Lawyers Association and New York Bar Association. She is also the immigration chair of National South Asian Bar Association and the immigration co-chair for the Federation of Indian Associations. The law offices of Prashanthi Reddy, PLLC, established in Midtown, Manhattan, is a full-service law firm exclusively representing clients in dealing with tough legal matters. The firm earned a quick reputation by offering personalized legal services to clients across the world. The firm is committed to integrating the diverse areas of legal expertise to solve clients' problems. Each and every employee of the firm personally dedicated to understanding the client's objectives and problems in order to serve them with quality and efficient services. And the firm have a good feedback. And I just wanted to finish here because it goes on and on, but the time doesn't permit me. You can visit her website for more details. Welcome, Ms. Prashanthi Reddy, for this event.
Thanks, Shelby. Prashant Reddy, it's all you now. So please go ahead and share your screen if you want to show some presentation. Then we can jump into some Q&A sessions after that. If you want to give any introduction, it's all up to you. It's all yours now.
Ramesh,
Thanks.
can you allow me to share screen?
Oh, yeah, sure. 1 second.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a pleasant evening.
I think you should be able to share now.
Weekend. Happy Friday. It's always nice to be, Friday evenings is the best time of the week because we can look forward to the weekend. So Sundays is the worst, Sunday evenings, because we have to then worry about, Monday. So Fridays is the best.
Yeah, Monday morning blues comes in. Friday evening.
I know. Then you have all your chores to take care of, etc., etc. So Friday evenings is always the best, most relaxing time. So I thought I would start with some latest immigration updates because there's so much going on, and it's not possible to cover everything. So just things that have happened in the last 2 weeks. I thought I would just give an update on what's been happening. So the first thing is, everyone can see my screen, I hope.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Yes,
so the first thing is USCIS is now allowing employers to file motions to reopen for all those H1 cases that were denied. So a motion to reopen is when, there's a denial of a case and the employer is asking for the case to be reopened and reconsidered. That's what a motion to reopen is. So as we all know, under the Trump administration, a lot of H1s got denied due to various reasons. Most importantly, they were saying, especially in the IT sector, right, which is important to us Indian nationals, they were saying that if the employee is working at a third-party site, then the employer doesn't have the right to control, and they were denying those cases. And it was very common. 60% of the H1s getting filed were getting denied based on this right to control or employer-employee relationship issue. So if you're an employer or an employee, whatever it might be, or you know someone whose H1 has been denied recently, we can now file motion to reopen. And the basis for this is that the Biden administration has rescinded all the old Trump memos with reference to who qualifies for a H1 and who doesn't. So one is they've rescinded the employer-employee relationship memo, which basically talks about what I just said, that if the person is working at a third-party site, they were saying that there's no employer-employee relationship between the employer and the employee. The second is there was another memo with reference to contacts and itineraries. So they were asking burdensome amount of documentation for a H1, especially IT related. They were asking for contracts, POs, itineraries, show proof of work, show contracts between all the parties, because sometimes there are 3 or 4 parties. So on that basis, they were denying cases. So if you have any denials based on that, please go ahead and file a motion to reopen. Also, they were denying cases based on the job title. So certain systems analysts job titles, computer programmers, some job titles, they were saying that they're not specialty occupations. Suddenly, after 20 years, they suddenly came up with this memo that, these positions are no longer qualify for a H1, thereby shutting down like 70% of the positions that were previously available for H1s. So if you have any of these issues based on which your H1 was denied, go ahead and file a motion to reopen. Just remember that a H1 is good for 3 years. So your H1 validity would be for 3 years. So if the denial was more than 3 years old, there's no point in filing a motion. So it has to be something that is at least within 3 years. So that way, when they approve it, you have some time on the H1. There's no point in a case getting reopened when the time period on the H1 is already over. So just that is one thing to keep in mind. So please keep that in mind. Other updates is USCIS, due to COVID, has been giving extensions on RFEs. So RFE is a request for further evidence, or it could be something called a NOID, which is a notice of intent to deny, a notice of intent to revoke, whatever this might be. All these are time bound, and all these are situations where USCIS is asking for further information. So in all these instances, because of COVID, they're giving 60 days grace over the time period that is written in the notice. So notice you will usually say, please respond by so and so date. And they're giving a 60 days grace period on that from that date onwards. So they have extended this further. Actually for March 31st, 2 days ago, we had an update that they have extended it another 3 months. So it's been extended into May right now. Okay. The other very important change and welcome change is the public charge update. Now this, just in the beginning of COVID, in February actually, just before COVID, the Trump administration came up with a new rule that if someone was not able to prove that they will not be a public charge in the future, we're not talking about in the past. Right now, the law is such that, as long as you have not used public assistance in the past, you can get a green card. But this went a step further, and this public charge rule said that even if you are likely to use public charge in the future, you will still be denied a green card. So you see the basis for this denial is very broad. So any of your family-based petitions, you're filing for your parents, they will obviously be likely. So the officer might think that since they don't have a job, since they're older, they're more susceptible to becoming a public charge. Since they don't have, employment ability. Could be spouse who's not working, could be parents, whatever it might be, dependents. They could deny the green card based on this. So it was very worrisome. It went until the Supreme Court. And recently, the Supreme Court basically, all parties withdrew, basically that because the Biden administration decided to remove the regulation completely. So it was no longer needed to be in the court. So this really bad rule, which is called the wealth test rule, a lot of people were calling it the wealth test rule. So which basically said only wealthy people can get green cards and the people who are not wealthy couldn't. So this has been rescinded, and this is, extremely good news for us. Then the next, what I wanted to talk about is, again, a lot has happened during the Trump administration. So one thing that happened in October was, or actually before that, in the summer, was that there was a presidential proclamation, so Trump's executive order, which said that any non-immigrants, so your H1s, H4s, any TNs, any of these non-immigrant categories, they cannot get visas if they were out of the country when the proclamation came in. So a lot of people left the country in March to get their visa renewed, and they got stuck. Or a lot of people who were coming first time into the country on a H1, they were not able to come. So this exemption is still valid until March 31st. And the Biden administration has not yet withdrawn this proclamation. There was another proclamation which was similar, but it was talking about family-based visas, and the Biden administration has removed that proclamation, but they have not removed this. So it's interesting to note that they have not, and we have to wait and see what happens. If they don't extend it, then it will die a natural death on March 31st. But if they extend it, you have to know what are the exceptions to this, who can come in despite the proclamation. So there's some exceptions because there was a court case that was won by certain members, certain community members like yourself. So the U.S. Chambers of Commerce, the National Association of Manufacturers, they won this case whereby the judge agreed that this proclamation was unlawful. But unfortunately, this applies only to the plaintiffs in this case. It doesn't apply to the community at large. So if anyone is so if, for example, you have a company, you have an employer, just tell them to join the U.S. Chambers of Commerce. It's the easiest thing to do. Go to their website and join them. And if your employer is a member of the U.S. Chambers of Commerce, or if you are an employer and you join the U.S. Chambers of Commerce, you can bring your employees in because you fall under those exceptions. So that's very important to note because especially with H1 cap season coming in, people filing H1s, they want to come into the country once the H1 is approved. This is one. There are other exceptions also, and there are other ways, but we can't talk about that right now. But this is a very important exception. Join the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and this proclamation will not apply to you, and you can go ahead and apply for your visa at the consulate. Another quick thing I wanted to talk about is the visa bulletin. Everybody looks at the visa bulletin every month. The visa bulletin has been doing really well the last couple of months. EB2 EB2 is employment-based second category, has moved by 4 months, and employment-based third category has moved by 2 months. This is a significant movement for those who've been following. It doesn't usually move so much every month. It usually doesn't move at all, or it'll move by a week or so at the most. So they have been promising that these dates will move, and they are moving. So that is good news for all those who've been waiting for a green card for 10 years, 15 years. We know that people have been waiting since 2009 for green cards also. So that's over 10 years. So another update, this is useful for students. What was happening is there's a huge delay, and those who are familiar with what's happening in immigration, there's a huge delay in issuing H4 EADs and in issuing EADs for students. The EADs are called OPTs, Optional Practical Training. Now the problem with this is that the OPT is only for a year. And if they take a year just to approve the employment authorization document, then it's going to take a long time. I mean, by the time the case gets approved, their OPT will be over, right? So that was a huge problem that was happening. So USCIS has recently said that they will give the 12-month full OPT from the date that it was approved going forward. So they will not lose any time. Before, the OPT was strictly from the date that you finished your degree or your 60 days grace to 12 months after that. Now it's from the date of the approval to 12 months after that. So that is a huge piece of good information for students. Also, a lot of OPT applications were being rejected because of COVID, things being done remote. You know, students often, sometimes they don't sign on the document, sometimes they don't send out the right document, sometimes they don't send out the right check. Most often the college makes some mistakes and the student has to pay for it. So these cases, as long as they were received between October 1 and May 1st, 2021, as long as it falls within those parameters, USCIS will accept rejected cases. This is very unusual because they never accept a case once it's rejected, no matter what the reason. So they're willing to accept these cases, and we've successfully filed quite a few cases that were previously denied because individuals filed them on their own. So this is also a great, good piece of information. And The next is H1B registration, but I don't want to talk about it because it's already over. The H1B registration just got over. So I will skip those slides. The other final thing, because I want to open it up for questions, is the DOL wage rule. This is also H1B related. So there is a rule right now, again by the Trump administration, that the wages are going to go up. They're going to double or triple. So unless you are paid like 150,000, for example, you will not be eligible for a H1. So all those entry level H1s, F1s to H1s, or entry level work, who are paid 75, 80,000, those people can no longer file H1s. This is very significant. So with reference to this DOL wage rule, it was supposed to be implemented in May. Now the good news is that it is being delayed until November 14, 2022. So the Biden administration, the new administration, is looking into it to see if changes can be made, if it's fair, if it's unconstitutional, unlawful. So they're looking into it. So let's see what happens. Hopefully it'll go away. We know that if it doesn't go away, there'll be lawsuits filed against it. This year has been really good for lawsuits against USCIS. There have been many successful lawsuits, so this will be one of them. So let's hope that happens. I think that's it for my part. I think we should now open it up for questions.
Thanks, Prashanti. Yes, a lot of information that you have provided. I think it's all latest, and it's really good to know that, and we are really thankful for that. So, now let's move on to the question and answer sessions. So, how it is going to work is that the people whoever the members who joined here, they cannot actually unmute it. We need to unmute them. So, if they have questions, they need to raise a hand. If someone is having difficulty in raising hand, either using you can probably type the question in the chat. We will ask that question, right? We'll also monitor any questions posted in the Facebook or YouTube. We will also let Prashanti know about those questions at the end of the session if we have time. But the priority will be given to the people who are in this who are in the Zoom call. So so we will let one by one ask the questions based on the order we see in the participant list. So the first one I see here is Srinath Pandurangam. So let me I'm asking to unmute. Srinath, you can unmute and you can actually ask questions.
Yeah, could you hear me?
Yes, Srinath. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, myself Srinath. So I'm posting this question on behalf of my spouse. So my spouse, actually I'm on H1. So basically my spouse H4 is filed in November 2019. So I received my H1B approval in June 2020. So parallelly what happened, July, around August, we filed for an H4 EAD for our case based on my H1B approval. Still it is pending. So H4 is still pending and we did not receive any communication until now. So this is the case on our H4. So let me also explain about her H1B. So what we did is we filed our H1B on April 2019. So we received RFE at February 2020. So after responding to the RFE by July, she received her H1B approval. So she is having some health concerns. She did not join in the H1B. So the employer also told that she is good to go since her H4 is still on process. So we were also thinking, and we are also raised the case on our H4 with the USCIS twice. We raised the SR and we did not receive any response. So now we latest in recent, actually 1 week back, we received an email on top of her H1B saying that correspondence received on our case and USCIS is reviewing it. So now actually we are still under confusion whether we are on H1B or H4. So yeah, so that's what our confusion is here.
Yeah, so one important thing for everyone to remember, this is very often asked as to I filed 2 cases, which one is,
Prashanti, Prashanti, we are not seeing your video for some reason.
Oh,
We are seeing the blank screen.
I can
No,
see
Ramesh,
myself.
we are seeing.
I
Yeah,
can
we can
see.
see. Yeah.
I think
You can see.
Ramesh.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Ramesh.
Sorry,
Yeah,
for some reason.
yeah. So,
Yeah, go ahead then.
okay. So just to answer that question, a lot of people have that confusion as to, they file 2 cases and they don't know which one is the case that is the active case. So you have to remember this something called last action rule, LAR, last action rule. This is very important. I so often get these questions. So just simple thing, last action rule. So whatever case that you filed, or action that you took last, that becomes your status. So you filed your H1 after you filed your H4. So you've asked for a H1 now. That is your latest, what you've asked for. And you were granted what you were asked for. You asked for something, you got the benefit, your status automatically changes to a H1. So the fact that you didn't work on a H1, technically, that is an issue. If they want to get into the technicalities of it, they can. So if you didn't want to work on that H1, what should have been done is you should have withdrawn it before it got
So
approved.
that's what the last action we took is in 2019 April we applied for H1, but in 2019 November we applied for H4.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I thought it's the other way around. So you did the H4 after the H1. Is that correct?
Yes. Because it took
Okay.
around 1 year, like 14 months for my H1. So that's why. So after H1 only we filed H4.
No, but we're talking about your spouse. Your spouse filed a H1
Yes,
also, correct?
Yes, spouse
Okay.
only. My spouse
Okay.
H1B applied in April 2019, and my spouse H4 extension is filed in November 2019. Yeah.
Okay, so then you're good. So you are presently then, based on that last action rule, you are on a H4. Yes, your spouse is on a pending H4 because that was filed last. So the fact that you didn't join on the H1, it should be okay because you filed another petition. So you have to wait for the H4 to get approved now.
Oh, okay. So and also the another last action in the sense.
But why is it taking so long? 2019?
Yeah.
For a
2019.
H4 to get approved, there's something wrong there.
No, that's what my H1B case approved by June only, June 2020, right? So from there the clock starts, right? So that's why I'm thinking. And also we done our biometrics by Jan 2020 itself. So as of now, if you take a count from my H1B, it should be like around 8 months. So
did you also file for a H4 EAD?
Yeah, we filed the H4 EAD by August. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there is a lawsuit pending. Recently, 2 days ago, Ayla and another private attorney filed a lawsuit for delays in the H4. So if that something happens, the whole community should be benefited. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
Thank you. So then last question is why, I mean, normally if in case H1B, right, the employer will be receiving the communication, right, not the employee, right? So so she received an email on top of her H1B, the correspondence received, and the employer also said we did not revoke or we did not send any communication. So since that's what also we are thinking why we received it. So maybe we have to skip it.
Yeah, that's unusual. Maybe it's a mistake. It's possible because USCIS does make, especially with the status updates, they do make mistakes. So it could be a mistake. But you should follow up. Since it's a H1, obviously you can't follow up. Ask the employer to follow up. Call customer service and see if there's any update.
Okay. So since my case status moved to correspondence review, I have my valid approval notice H1, right? So based on the case status, I cannot come to conclusion my case is not invalid, right? So is that like still
That's
active or? Okay.
Yeah, it's active as long as until you see a denial or something like that. Sometimes you may not get it in the mail, right? So you have to keep an eye out. But it doesn't say denial, so it should be fine. But you should call customer service or have the employer call.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Srinath. Prashanti, I would like to ask you, how many minutes you need to deal with one person? Because it looks like if they ask multiple follow-up questions, then you may run into,
Right. So
long
maybe we
hours
can,
of this meeting, right? So,
depending on the number of people that have a question, we can start with one question per person, and then we can go back to those people who have the second question if we have time.
Okay. So probably we'll allow one follow-up questions. In case if it is really critical, if they really want to know answers, we'll allow them to ask one follow-up questions, but not like kind of conversations. We cannot let them asking more questions. Okay, next is Rao family. I'm asking them to unmute. Okay, Rao, yeah, please go ahead and ask question.
Hello, my name is Aparna Rao. I'm joining from Boston. My question is about green card processing for my mother. She's currently in India. My question was, is it a better idea to apply for her green card while she's in India, or is it a good idea to apply when she's visiting here?
It's better to apply when she's visiting here. Bring her here on a visitor's visa. Wait for 90 days. Remember, wait for 90 days, then file her I-130 and 485 while she's here, because it's faster. And second thing is, in India, it's first of all, it's completely backlogged, because until recently they were not allowing immigrant visas to be filed. So it's backlogged for the entire year, and consulates are not open full capacity. So definitely better to bring her here on a visitor's visa, wait for 90 days and then file.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. So next question is going to be from Durai Arasa Sundaram. He was not able to raise his hand, but I'm going to unmute him so that he can ask questions.
Wait for 90 days.
1 second. Durai, can you unmute and ask a question? Durai?
Yeah, it is not allowing me to unmute.
Oh, okay. Now we are able to hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Prasanthi, first of all, thanks for your time. Just put my question on the chat also. So I was hired by company A, and my GC was processed, and I got my approved I-140. And then company B acquired company A, and so currently I'm with company B. So the question is, so when the date comes, my priority date comes, so what is that action that needs to be taken? My company B says that I don't need to refile the fresh application or port my date. They say it is under the successor and interest category. So automatically when the date comes, I can file for my change of status. So I was not sure, so I just wanted to confirm, is that the right statement? If it is right, then what are all the documents, materials I need from them to file my change of status? Right.
So the SII, as you were mentioning, that is, you have to show at the time of filing the 485 what happened. So what the relation, you have to give a memo basically. Your attorney needs to write a memo as to what was the situation. Was it a merger, acquisition, whatever happened? And they have to show that one company bought over the other company, and they bought over not just the assets, but also the liabilities. So it has to be an asset and liability kind of purchase. And then for proof, they basically have to show the asset purchase agreement. And then a statement from, the new owners that they're taking over not only your asset of you, but also the liability as well, all your liabilities, whatever they might be. And then you should be, if it qualifies as they say that it does, you should be able to file the 485 directly. So they're right in that, as long as they qualify.
Okay. So I just need these documents from my employer, and then I can file it on my own with my attorney.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Prashanti. The next question is going to be from Meena Mani. Let me unmute her. Hey, Meena, please go ahead and ask question.
Yeah. TMM and Prashanti, ma'am. The question is, my husband is in H1, so his H1 is valid till February 2023, and he changed company like 3 years ago. So in the passport stamping is with the previous company, and it expired in September 2018. So this summer we have plans to go to India. I just want to know if we are eligible for drop box, or do we know to go to consulate for stamping?
So you're eligible for Dropbox as long as it is within a certain period of time, the visa, right? It shouldn't have expired more than a certain amount of time. So if it expired in 2018, so if that is 2 years, I need to look it up exactly how much time it should be. As far as I know, it has to be 1 year. But recently, just recently, like within this week, then maybe I could have put that in my updates, but they extended that to 4 years. So anyone who, so it was 2 years before. Now before it was 1 year, then 2 years. Now it's 4 years. So as long as you fall within that category, then you can apply for your Dropbox. Go ahead and do the Dropbox, because if you try and do in person, that's not going to happen right now. Except for Delhi consulate, I think the other consulates are not even. They're only doing emergency visas.
Okay. So I thought that if we change company, we have to go to consulate. So
No, it doesn't matter. It's an extension of your status. It doesn't have to be extension with the same company.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Meena. Next one is S. Srinivasan. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, this is Sri. And firstly, I think thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to ask a question on travel, and my H-1B visa is expiring on August 31st, 2021, and we are thinking to sponsor a visa for in-laws to have them over, since it's probably unsafe for myself and my wife to travel during the extension process. So my company has agreed to file premium processing, but my question to you is, should we sponsor the visa based out of the current status, or wait until the premium processing is filed and you get the renewal for the H-1B and then file or sponsor them a visa for having them over? Which would be the advised option?
So I don't think it really matters as long as you're not out of status.
Okay.
You can always, file that I-824 or the affidavit of support for them and give them an invitation letter to come. They're not going to, as of the date that you send them the letter and fill out that form, you should be in status. So it really doesn't matter whether you go now or you go after your premium processing, after your H1 is approved. As of now, you're in status, so you can do it.
No, it's not about my travel. I want them to travel. So would the consulate officer be concerned about the expiry date being only 3 to 4 months from now, from the interview date, or?
So they don't care about when your status is expiring, since you are not traveling, as I just said.
Okay.
What they care about is that you are in status, which you are, right?
Yes.
And then the rest of it will be other stuff, like their intent to immigrate or whatever it might be.
Okay.
They'll ask for their finances, etc.
Thank you so much, Prashanti. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the opportunity again.
Thanks, Srinivasan. Now let's move on. Before that, I would like to tell the other participants that if you have any questions, please raise your hand. And also the viewers who are watching either in the Facebook live channel or YouTube, if you have any questions, post your comments there as a question so that we can pick up the question and ask here. So next one is Sean. Let me unmute Sean.
Hi, Prashanti. Hi.
Hi.
My question is I recently transferred my H-1B visa from employer A to employer B, and my wife went to India last February. And should she get the visa stamping now, or she has the valid visa of till September 21 with the old employer? Can she travel without the stamping, or she should get the stamping and then come back?
She can travel as long as she's traveling before September. Her visa is valid until September, so as long as she travels before that, she can come in using the old visa.
Oh, okay. And she's been in India for a year. Can she apply once she comes here? Can she apply for EAD? She was here for more than 5 years previously. No, yeah.
So there's no such requirement that you have to be in the country for a certain period of time. So the EAD, the H4 EAD is based on whether you have an I-140 approved or not. So if you do, then she can apply.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Next one in the line is Kay. So, Kay, are you there? Are you able to unmute? Yeah, please.
Hi.
Yeah. Please go ahead and ask questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking the call. I'm on EAD and my date is current right now. It's with Texas Service Center, and apparently Texas Service Center is extremely slow in sending RFEs and stuff like that. And there's like a lot of people who are from October still like waiting for RFEs for medicals and stuff. Is there anything that can be done about this? I mean, like, is there any loophole?
Unfortunately, no. And I guess you were expecting that answer, but you were hoping that I would say that there is, but unfortunately, there isn't. As you already know, thousands of applications were filed in October, and the problem here is they're not even doing first come, first serve. They're just not following any particular pattern. There's some people who filed later and they've already received their EAD. Some filed earlier and they didn't. So also with reference to RFEs, we've started seeing RFEs come in now for medicals, birth certificates, non-availability certificates, etc. For the October cases, we've started getting RFEs, but not full-fledged as yet. So I think it'll still take some time. The only advice I would have given you was to file a complete application and not file an application without medicals, right? Then you didn't have to wait for an RFE. But that boat has already passed. That has sailed. That ship has sailed. So yeah, I guess the thing is that if it remains current for a month or two, you might be okay. But if it goes back, then you'll have to continue waiting.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll remain current.
Okay. Thanks, Prashanti. Thanks, Kay. You have any follow-up questions, Kay? All right. So next, let's move on to Esam. Let me unmute this. Hi.
Yep. Hey, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to have this session to discuss on the immigration matters. So my question is, say if H4 with H4 EAD, a person has started an LLC, and if the H4 expires and waiting for the renewal, what would be the state of the LLC? Can the LLC continue to exist?
Yes, this is another common problem because a lot of our entrepreneurs obviously cannot wait for 10 years, 15 years to get their green cards. So they are starting companies, on H4 EADs because that's a great way to do it. But unfortunately, you have to file extensions every year. And so to answer your question, the LLC can continue to exist. You don't have to disband it or close it or anything like that. The only thing is that person, the spouse, cannot receive any remuneration or do any active work or work for that company. The company can, continue. If you have someone else who can run the business or who can become a partner in the business, who's a citizen or a permanent resident, they can take over as well. And then once, the spouse gets the H4 EAD, they can go back to being in the position that they were in. So that's one way out of it if it's an actively running business.
Right. So that clarifies. And so the follow-up question on this would be like, so if the person, or if there is a partner who is a citizen who can continue to run the business, any bank transactions, any accounts, because as a LLC partnership, the person will have a bank account too, right? So the money coming and going out in the H4 person's name, would that be a problem, or is that because it's part of the business that happens, all right?
Right. So as long as the person doesn't take out any money from the account and it remains in the business, I think it should be okay. And they're not actively participating in the day-to-day affairs of the company, it should be okay.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's unmute Muthu now, next in the line.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Muthu?
Yes.
Yes, Muthu, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. My wife is a derivative applicant in the green card process. Her I-485 was rejected, citing alien worker info missing. My attorney did not fill anything under Section 9A. So my attorney is saying they're waiting for refiling instructions from USCIS. So could you please let me know how to proceed? Should we wait or can we resubmit with any cover letter or something?
Yeah, Muthu, unfortunately that 10% of the cases came back, and most of them were for that same issue that you mentioned. And AILA has been, because it's such a large volume of cases that came back, AILA has been talking to USCIS. We haven't received any instructions. USCIS has not said anything so far that we can refile or, And the main reason for this, for those who don't know, is that it was a lot of attorneys thought that they didn't have to answer that particular 9A question because it was a dependent. And from the face of it, it seemed like the question didn't apply to dependents, but only primary applicants. So a lot of attorneys did not respond to that question. So that's what happened. A lot of cases came back. So Muthu, I don't have any further information for you right now, but if I was in the same position, I would just file it because there's no harm in refiling it and just tell them about the whole 9A problem, which they already know about. There's no harm in refiling it now. And, in the meantime, if some instructions come in, then, you can always, then your case is already in. If it comes back, which will take about a month or so, you can always again send it once you get the instructions. So my thing is there's no harm in sending it out now. And then, see what happens.
Thank you. I just have one quick follow-up question. So my priority date is August 2014. The dates have retrogressed. My application has been accepted. So will there be any issue in refiling my wife's application because of the dates?
Yeah, obviously. We are refiling it with the hope that they will accept it as of the date of filing. Now you cannot refile it otherwise. So when I say refile, I'm saying refile with an explanation that, because of the 9A issue, it came back, and because USCIS took so many months to return it, you are not able to refile it in a timely manner. So put that back on them that they took so many months just to return it. They could have returned, if they returned it in the month of November or December, you could have refiled it, right? Because dates were still current. So that's what I would do. But otherwise, if they don't accept it on humanitarian grounds, you have no legal grounds because, as you said, the visa numbers are not available. But we are hoping again in October, dates for filing will become available again because every October dates for filing become available. And they usually last from October to March. So we're hoping that will happen again. And then, all these people that whose cases came back, they can refile.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Muthu. Thanks, Prashanti. So before I ask someone from the queue where someone raised their hand, there are a lot of questions posted in the chat based on the priority, and also they send directly to us in the other comments. So Ramesh Dalan is going to ask some questions on that. Then we'll go back to the queue in the participant list. Ramesh, can you ask a question? At least two questions now, one or two questions. Then we can go back to that. Please go ahead.
Sure, Ramesh, I can do. Prashanti, I think there are three questions. Pretty much all of them is around H4 and H4 EAD for the spouse. The first question is from AJ. Does it make a difference if you file H4 extension and H4 EAD separately?
Difference in what? Not really. Difference in processing time, I presume that's what he's asking, but I don't think it does. The main delay seems to be with H4 EADs more than H4s. H4s, even if there's a delay, it doesn't really matter because you're still in status. But H4 EAD delay matters because then you lose your job because you cannot work if your EAD has expired. But to just answer that question, no, it doesn't make a difference whether you file it separately or together.
Okay.
Ramesh, you want to go for the next question?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I was frozen a little bit. So the next question is from Batmashri. Again, it's around H4 and H4 EAD. My H4 and H4 EAD was filed on June 2020. It's been 10 months till I didn't get any biometric appointment for H4 extension. So her question is, if I go to stamping in India, will my current H4 EAD will be rejected and I have to refile again? Is the question.
Right. So a lot of people are asking this question as well. They are some are just traveling because it's the summer, but some are traveling because they're hoping that if they come back and they, then now they have a valid H4, somehow the H4 EAD processing will be faster, but it won't be faster. So if you're traveling just for that sake, then there's no point in doing that because the delay is with the H4 EAD itself. And the biometrics, etc. And this is also a policy delay. This is an intentional delay on the part of USCIS because they don't want to give H4 EADs anymore, and it has to be resolved at some point. But there is a lawsuit filed, as I said, and hopefully it will be resolved soon. But to answer that question, leaving the country and coming back does not in any way affect your H4 EAD application, so you should be fine.
Okay, thanks, Prashanti. Ramesh, we'll come back to the chat questions after I go back to the queue.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thanks then. So next on the line is SI 128. So let me unmute that. Yeah, please go ahead and ask question.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call and appreciate you guys doing this community service. So I had a question about getting my mom here and start processing her green card. As you say, after 90 days, right? And the question was, A, how much time does it take? B is if she is in Mass and it takes more time where she cannot handle cold from November onwards and she goes to Florida, what happens? Is she kind of locked in till the time the green card comes in? And during the period the green card comes in, if she has to go for some major, treatments, whose liability is it? How does it work out? So those are the two questions I had. Thanks.
Yes, okay. So the first question I think was how long does it take? So once you file it, it should take about 12 months maybe to, so it'll take about 1 to 3 months to get the advance parole. So I'm answering that third question that you had. If once she gets advance parole, she can travel outside the country. Within the country, you don't have to worry. You can travel at any time. There is no restriction traveling within the country. Third was a question about medical bills, I think. So I don't think she's not eligible. Unless she's a permanent resident, she's not eligible for Medicaid, even if she's over 65. So, and that's not an immigration question, but just based on general knowledge. So if there is some medical issue, obviously, then if she goes to emergency, they can't refuse to treat her. But if she goes for some other treatment, then somebody has to pay the bill. She's liable first, but they might even come after you if she's living with you. But mostly it is the individual that's liable in this country.
Okay, thanks, Prashanti. Then next in the queue, I do see a couple of people for the second follow-up questions, but let us give a chance to the first comers. So I do see Arun. Meena, I think she asked the question before, I think, right? So let me unmute anyway. Meena, I think you already asked question, right?
Yeah, I asked question. Yeah, this is second question only.
Okay, that's fine. You can go ahead and ask questions. So I will give chances to the others later, but you can go ahead since I really unmuted you. Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So my son is 13 years old. He is in H4. So only till certain age they can be our dependents, right? So I just want to plan how it is going to be H4 college education or all that. So that's my question.
They can only be until 21. Once they are 21, they have to go on to an F1 status. So they'll file a change of status from H4 to F1. But you still have time. But it's good to plan.
Yeah.
But let's hope Biden comes up with something where, the green card people who have EB2 and EB3 green cards pending will get a green card by then. I'm hoping.
Okay.
But otherwise, they file a change of status from H4 to F1.
Okay, so are there many kids in H4 college education right now?
You can be on H4 college education, but you can only be on a H4 before your 21st birthday. After your 21st birthday, you cannot be on H4. So then you'll have to change to an F1. But if you are eligible for H4, if you're below 21, yes, you can go to college on your H4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Prashanti. So next in the line is Arun. Yeah, Arun, please go ahead and ask question.
Yeah, my question, I'm asking behalf of my friend. So he was in US around 8 years and I-140 approved, that's his green card status. Unfortunately, his visa got rejected and back to India. So in this situation, what happened to his green card processing? It also got
The green card processing continues if the employer continues it. It's an offer of future job employment. So just the fact that he's not working right now doesn't invalidate the green card. So the employer should be willing to pursue it. If he has, then he or she has, then it can be processed. It can be continued.
Okay. Thanks, Prashanti. So let's move on to the next one. Tamil Selvi, I'm going to unmute you. Yes, Tamil Selvi, go ahead.
Hi, Prashanti.
Hi.
Thank you for this opportunity, Ramesh. My question is, if my visa expires, my visa is expiring in July 2021, and I applied for a college. So to change from L2 to F1, do I need to go to India and get stamped and come back, or I can stay here itself and change my status from L2 to F1?
You can file for a change of status in the country for L2 to F1, and you'll get a new I-94 and you can continue for as long as you like. The only time you need to get a visa is if you leave the country. Then in order to come back, you need a visa.
Okay. So in order to continue the work, in F1, I cannot work. So if I apply CPT or OPT, how long does it take?
So you cannot apply for OPT as soon as you join the college because that's after you finish college. You can apply for CPT, curricular practical training, and that really depends on the college that you join. Some colleges allow day one CPT. Some don't. So really depends on your DSO. You should talk to the university before you join.
Okay.
To find out what is their CPT policy.
So I can still be here without going out of country and continue like a change of state.
Continue what?
Live here and just change of state.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right. So I do see a lot of participants here. If they have any questions, please post it in the chat or raise your hand. The next one in the queue is Narayana Kumar. Let me unmute.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, what is your advice on traveling this summer to India? Is there any known delays in the visa stamping? What is the minimum period someone should plan for? Who needs a visa stamping there?
So if the person is a permanent, it depends on what your status is really. So what is the status?
If it is a visa, means we will be in H1B or H4.
H1 visa. Okay, H1, some non-immigrant visa.
Yes.
So yeah, visa stamping, unless you do Dropbox, can take time, and I don't, because there's a huge backlog for in-person appointments. So it's really difficult to say if you leave and if you need a visa stamping when you'll come back. Especially if you have a job and you are physically required to be here, I would postpone that visit right now, unless you have lockbox. So then it shouldn't take more than a month or so.
So for the Dropbox, it's taking only for a month, right?
Dropbox, correct.
And one more thing, after 14 years, definitely we need to go for a visa stamping, right? The Dropbox option is not allowed, right? Suppose if he turns, if one turns 14, because his old visa was before 14, And if he turns 14, definitely he need to go for the visa stamping in person, right?
I am not aware of that. So I don't know the answer to that. So I won't answer it. If someone needs that information, then I can look it up and then you respond accordingly.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't want to give you a wrong answer.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the other one is, what are the benefits and risks involved when downgrading from EB2 to EB3 when the auction dates move forward in future?
Right. So yes. So that was a golden question, especially in October.
Yes.
I was asked that question so many times that I almost felt like recording it and then just hitting the play button every time somebody asked me that. So EB2 to EB3, there is no risk because you can file for rather than filing an amendment, you can file a new I-140. So you'll file a new I-140 for EB3, right? And thereby you will maintain your EB2 I-140 as well as your EB3 I-140. So whichever, depending on whichever gets current first, you can use that. The only risk happens when you file an amendment, changing your existing EB2 to an EB3. Then your I-140 changes. So you no longer have the underlying EB2. So that in that situation, there was a risk. And at that time, people were asking that question because there was some rumor that you couldn't file an amendment to change from EB2 to EB3, or it was risky to do that. So now it is established that it's not. And even previously it wasn't, but somehow this rumor started. So there is no risk there. You can just file for a new I-140. And you have two I-140s, one for EB2 and other for EB3, and it's the same job.
And after moving to the EAD, do we need to hold the H1B or is it okay to work with the EAD?
Right. Another good question. So if you are moving to an EAD, you have to remember, first of all, that before you move to an EAD, make sure your I-140 is approved. Because if the I-140 gets denied, and there is a good possibility that it might get denied because there's so many issues in an I-140, your 485 will get denied. And if you move to an EAD that quickly, then you will fall out of status, really. So make sure that first of all, your I-140 is approved. Once the I-140 is approved, yes, you can move to an EAD and advance parole. You have to understand what the parameters are. If you want to travel, you have to file for an advance parole. You have to file for EAD. The advantage is, unlike H4 EAD, even while the EAD is pending, you can work. So that's one big advantage of being in a 485 EAD, which is a little different from the H4 EAD. So you'll never be out of a work visa, as it may be. The disadvantage of moving to a 485 is if you have dependents who are going to turn 21. If you move them to a 485 and they turn 21, they pretty much fall out of status. Because they don't have an underlying non-immigrant petition, a non-immigrant visa. So then they'll have to leave the country and then come back on an F1 visa or some other independent visa. So that's why some people are keeping that H1 and H4 alive because it's easy, then they don't have to leave the country. They can just file for a change of status from a H4 to an F1. So it depends on what your situation is.
Okay. Thanks, Prashanti. Thanks, Kumar. Kumar, you asked two golden questions. You should get some gift from TMM President, actually. You can probably reach out to him. Okay. All right. So over to Ramesh Dayalan for some of the questions in the chat and the comment boxes. Then we can go back to the queue. I see 3 people who already asked questions, waiting for the second question. And Saranya is a newcomer. But Ramesh, you can go ahead and ask the questions in the chat and comments, whatever you have it. You can wrap up those questions.
Okay. I have one question from Ganesh Shekhar. It's again around, his wife completed H1B 6 years. He's going to complete 6 years by October 2021. Company is still working on filing green card. Since GC will not complete before 2021, obviously in October 2021, they're asking to file H4 and H4 EAD in his H1B? Is that a good idea to do? Is this question?
I guess that's the best option that you have, since you didn't file the GC on time and October is coming up now. Even if you file now, you're not going to get the approval by October. So your best filing your green card as soon as possible, changing your status to H4 EAD, and then you might be in a period where you can't work because of all the issues that we know that we've been discussing, right, about H4 EAD delays. But at least you will be maintaining your status and you don't have to leave the country. You can also move to presumably move to an F1 or a visitor's visa, but the H4 is much better.
Okay, thanks, Prashanti. Ramesh, next question, please. Ramesh, are you there?
No, I was mute, sorry. A couple of questions on green card, just switching the topic from H4. One person is asking, we are citizens here, we want to file green card for our parents. What are the things we need to know and how long it would take? I know you answered a little bit earlier. The thing is, more important question is this something your company can help? Is what is question?
Absolutely, that's what we do for a living. We'll be happy to help.
Okay.
And I think I answered that question before, so.
Yeah, you did, I think you did. I think follow-up question on that is, I know you said like once they come in, you have to apply in 90 days. What's the time frame after that, Prashanti, for that?
So it's difficult to say the time. I can only tell you what the time frame was before COVID. It was about 12 months or so. It doesn't take long. For family-based cases, they were getting approved actually even before that, 6+ months. But now it might take longer. So I would give it about 12 to 18 months.
Got it. One other question on the green card, and then we can go back, Ramesh, for the people on the raising hands. He's a green card holder and is eligible to become citizen now. I think it's more a personal question too, probably for him. He has plenty of assets in India. He needs your advice. Maybe he should contact you separately. I don't know. I mean, that's his question.
Right. And that is more like an OCI kind of question, not US immigration so much, but Indian immigration. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Back to you, Ramesh.
So there are some questions left in the chat, Ramesh. You can consolidate and keep it ready. And let's move on to the list in the queue. Next one is Saranya Devi. Let me unmute. Saranya, please go ahead and ask question. Saranya, are you able to see? I'm not sure what happened to Saranya. Saranya, are you able to unmute?
Yes, now I'm able to.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So this is regarding my status, the current status. Actually, I'm confused whether I am in H4 or H1 right now, because all the status, like all the visas which I have applied is like overlapping. Initially, I have applied for, I came to US from India on H4, dependent with my husband. Then I applied H1 on April 2019. Then it took a time for 1.5 years and then it got approved. In between, I also applied for H4 along with my husband because he applied for H1 extension. So I have applied H4, but still I'm waiting for H4 status. I didn't get any H4 approval for myself and my daughter. So I'm just confused, whether I'm in, and also I have not joined the job in H1. So right now I'm not pretty sure that whether I'm in H4 or H1 because I've not joined the job. So that's the first thing. It's like very confusing.
So if you want to join the job, then you should immediately withdraw your H4, the last one that you filed. Then you will be automatically on H1 because that's the second last one that you filed. But if you do not want to be on H1, then let your H4 processing, the last case, again, I don't know if you were there earlier in the call, we talked about last action rule. So since the last action that was performed was the second H4, I think you will continue to be on H4 if you don't do anything.
Okay, so the other thing, what I wanted to be clear is basically to understand what status we are in. Is it any way we can find it out from the online or something in, I mean, even like website, if I go, nothing, I mean, no information was there on my
Well,
name.
you can Google last action rule USCIS, and that will tell you, basically will say what I'm saying. Whatever
Oh,
was your last action.
okay, but by any chance, like USCIS website doesn't say me like what status I am in? It doesn't say.
Why does it have to say when there is a rule as to what your status is? There's a very simple rule. So, USCIS will not, no, it doesn't say, to answer your question.
Okay, because okay, even though if we don't join the job and H4 is like since H4 is the latest one, and I've got a lot of, and I've got RFEs after I apply H4. So still you mean to say that whatever the action I take on the last will be
Last
considered?
case that you filed.
Okay. So it means that like according to that I'll be in H4. So if I'm not joining job, I have to like let them know that like I have to withdraw
And ask them
H1,
to
right?
withdraw. Yeah, ask them to withdraw the H1.
Okay. In case if I'm withdrawing H1, one more question. Like in case if I'm withdrawing H1, like I heard from someone, I'm not very pretty sure that since it is there like for, is it like for, since it's for 6 years, so anytime I can use the same H1B in the future if I want to join the H1B, or I have to apply a totally new one?
So I think you're asking about whether you're cap exempt or not. You're only cap exempt if you actually started working on the H1. If you did not start working on the H1, you're not cap exempt. That is as per the strictest interpretation of that cap exempt rule. And that's how they're interpreting it right now.
Oh, so totally it's like gone. Withdrawn means it's totally gone. I have
If
to
you
start
don't,
right from the scratch.
then you'll have to file for a cap case. Anyway, you have to start from the scratch. But this now you have to start. You can only file when when the cap opens up, and if you get picked in the lottery.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sarani and Prashanti. Prashanti's time check, it's about 8:20. So we do have 4 people raised their hand and a couple of questions in the chat. Are you okay with continuing this couple of questions?
Yeah, another 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah, okay. Siva, you can go and ask questions because he was not able to raise hand. So unmuted him. Siva, you can ask question now.
Yeah, thanks, Prasanthi. Actually, thanks for taking the time to answer all the questions, and it's a great service. It's a kind of a different kind of a question. So already my wife has a green card. Already we applied for citizenship. So the green card is expiring in September 20th, and she is going. Its citizenship application is still in the process, and we don't know. It says it's going to be approved probably around August timeframe. But she is going to be in India, and just in case, for any reason, if she gets stuck, is there any field office to extend the green card, or what?
No, you shouldn't be in that situation, Shiva. Make sure if they're traveling and she gets stuck, then she's stuck. You cannot extend the green card while she's out of the country. So, and also there is a rule with reference to citizenship also, right? For the last 3 months, you should maintain residence at that place from where you filed. So extended period outside the country while you file citizenship also is not a good idea. So I would suggest not to travel. I mean, you can visit, but don't stay out of the country for an extended period of time while your citizenship application is pending.
Yeah, so what she's a school teacher, so she's thinking of going to India in June 20th, and then probably she'll be there for 2 months. So do you think probably that's not good?
2 months should be okay, but make sure her green card doesn't expire while she's outside the country.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Siva. Thanks, Prashanti. Ramesh, over to you now. So you can go ahead and ask questions that's in the chat and the comment boxes, whatever. Then we can go back.
Given
to
the timeline, Prashanti, let's do it kind of a rapid round here, if you don't mind. A question from Arun is, what's the current timeline and delay on Dropbox in India? Is there a website to track?
I don't know what the current timeline is actually.
Okay, there's no website as well, right, to track that?
No. You can go to the consulate where you're applying and see if there's information there.
Okay. The question is from Mr. K. For someone who's current, can they proactively?
K is already raised hand. You can skip
That's
me.
okay. There's one question. I'll just shoot that question anyway.
Okay.
Can they proactively send medicals before a RFE is received?
Yeah, you can't.
I
Sorry.
submitted my medical.
Cannot.
Okay. You can't. Okay. So Kumar, you can remove K from the question if you don't mind. That's fine. The
Okay.
raise hand. And another question from Priya. We applied for green card, EAD title change, advance parole. Is it okay to travel to India before getting EAD? I think you just answered that question if I'm right. Or will it affect any process?
So advance parole, make sure, I mean, if you're on a H1, if it's an employment-based petition based on an I-140, you can travel as long as you can come back on your H1 visa, if you have a valid H1 visa. Yeah, you can travel.
Perfect. The question is from Ganesh Shekhar. If I apply PERM this month and also H4 EAD, which is likely to be approved first, how are the delays with the PERM?
PERM is likely to get approved first.
Okay.
It's about 6 months to 8 months for PERM. If he's applying, as he said today.
Okay. And this, thank you. The next question is from Jay. I think Jay has raised hand. Kumar, you can remove him. I'll ask the question here. H1B for nonprofits does not have cap, but does it have to be faculty position at a college, or can it be a staff position as well? What about nonprofits for the community that work with multiple colleges, but
So
not with one
faculty,
specific?
so the job title only matters as to whether it's a specialty occupation or not. So only some jobs are can get H1 and some jobs can't. So that is relevant for that. But otherwise, if it's a non-profit educational institutions, yeah, sure, it is cap exempt.
Two more questions, Ramesh. I'll just shoot it here. Chokalingam Money. So he's thanking for sure. Thank you, Prashanti. And I'm on EB2 with the current racing between EB2 and EB2 with EB3. Should I switch to EB3 or remain patiently in my current queue?
Should I switch to EB3? What after that? What is he asking, Ramesh?
Sorry, I think I went frozen a little bit. I think his question is he's on EB2 right now. And yeah, with the current racing between an EB2 and EB3, he's asking, should I switch to EB3 or should I wait patiently in the current queue?
That is his choice. I cannot tell him what he should do. So it's hard to, I don't have a crystal ball, so it's hard to see, figure out what will happen.
Okay. Yeah, there is a last question from Rajesh, Ramesh. I posted that. You want to ask that?
Yeah. Yes. Rajesh's question is, if changed to a new ARG after I-140 approval, would it be feasible from EB2 to EB1 at new ARG? Any pre-requests?
If he changed to, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
If he changed the organization after I-140 approval, basically a company change, would it be feasible from EB2 to EB1 at a new organization, new company?
EB1, if you qualify, it doesn't matter. The changing of the organization is not important, but whether you actually qualify for EB1 or not, that is important.
Gotcha. And this is the last question in the thing. I think Jay is following up with a question. Kumar, you can remove Jay again from the raising hand. What is the timeline for applying to H1B with nonprofits? How much time does it take to do the paperwork, file it, and hear back from USCIS? If there is any gap for H1B filed for nonprofits?
The cap usually refers to students' change of status from an F1 to a H1, and it applies to anyone, whether nonprofit or not. But if you're cap exempt, then you don't have to worry about that.
Perfect. Okay. I think we are good in the chats here, Ramesh. If you want to release.
Yeah. I think we are freezing any more questions in the chat. We have 3 more questions in the queue. After that, we can actually end up with the thank you note from you, Ramesh. Okay. Yep. So let's unmute Esam and then they can ask questions. Esam, please go ahead. Esam? Not sure.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a follow-up question on the LLC started under the H4 EAD. So I understand that the person cannot actually work or check the money out. However, can the person claim the expenses in tax filing for the period not actively involved in the business? And B, can the person continue to invest in the same LLC managed by someone else?
Prashanti?
Sorry. Yes, you can invest, but only as a passive investor, not as an active
Okay.
member. And the other thing I think was a tax question, so I'm going to skip it.
Okay. Thank you.
So next one is yes, 128.
Hi, thanks for taking the question again. And my question was, as a U.S. citizen, right, and one with the OCI card, and of folks, retiring in Florida or something, and they go back to India and retire over there and come back, occasionally visit their kids here after 5 to 6 years. Any risk or any something like that which one has to factor in?
If you have an OCI card, I believe there's no risk because you don't have to report to the police station every 6 months. You can stay for any period of time in India. So, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, two more questions. Tamil Selvi.
Ramesh, can I just take 2-second break?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
1 minute.
Please.
Yeah, sure, please.
We'll have one question, so we can wrap up.
I'm back. Sorry, guys. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thanks, Prashanti. Tamil Selvi, are you there? You can go ahead and ask question. Tamil Selvi? Sorry, I have been unmuted.
I think she couldn't unmute probably. Let's go
Tamil
to
Selvi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, she can. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Tamil. Yeah.
Okay. This is a follow-up question on the L2 to F1. I asked previously if we can be in the States and then move the status. Another question is, nowadays the I-94 is getting delayed. So if the visa is getting expired in July 2021, when the person should apply for the F1?
I don't think I understand your question. So visa is something completely different, nothing to do with I-94. So as long as you file, as long as the I-94 is current, I-94 is valid, you can file for a change of status, even on the last day. But usually you can file, if you're extending, you can file 6 months ahead of time. If it's a change of status, you can file anytime, as long as the I-94 is still valid.
Okay, before the I-94 gets expired, or visa gets expired before that, any day.
Not visa, I-94.
I-94. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Prashanti. The last person is Jay. I think he's coming back. I think he may send some check to you, Prashanti.
Yeah, he's not happy with my questions. He's asking.
Yes,
he's
asking plenty of questions.
I think we have to charge him for the next question.
Go ahead, Jay, please.
Right.
Unmute.
Yeah, I unmuted him. Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
So,
oh, sorry, it's her. I'm sorry. Sorry.
How
Go
much
ahead.
time does it take to do the actual paperwork?
I can't hear you. I don't know if some other people can hear, but if Ramesh can hear, he can relay the question.
No, we are not able to hear as well.
I'm not able to hear too. I think she has the question in the chat. I can ask the question. How much time does it take to do the paperwork, file it, and hear from USCIS for H-1B nonprofit?
How much time does it take? Same time that it takes for H1. You can also file for premium processing. So H1 is keeps changing, but it takes a few months usually. And if you do premium processing, now it takes 30 days.
Okay.
I think we covered pretty much everybody.
Any questions? Okay, awesome. Thanks again. Ramesh, you can go and give the thank you note, and then we can wrap it up. Prashant, you want to say anything before that?
Exactly.
Just thank you so much. It was really wonderful to answer so many questions. I just I'm very happy when there are so many participants and questions, because I feel like my time is well spent. So Really thank you for the organization and all the members and all your hard work and dedication. And happy Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Prashanti. There's roughly around 30 questions.
Not only the people over the chat are. Yeah, one thing I will say, Prashanti, not only the people over the chat here, but it is also broadcasted to many other Facebook channels and YouTube, right? So where there are like 20,000, 30,000 members are there. So they will be seeing your faces, if they want to really see. And it's a good thing for you as well. And thanks for giving opportunity. Ramesh, go ahead and, give your thank you note, please.
Thank you very much, Prashanti. It was wonderful. Nice knowing you as a person as well. And you were very patient in answering all the questions. It was at least there was 30 questions if my count is right. And I think I hope we did right by coordinating things. So we are happy to support you anytime. Thanks for your time and thanks for supporting the community as always. From TMM perspective, IAGB and Rhode Island Tamil Changam, our warm regards and thank you for you. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and have a great weekend. Yes, thank you. Vanakkam.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Prashanti, I will post your, your business card in our Facebook page and share it in our newsletter. Someone will contact you if they need. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Night.